What up, everybody? Long time no upload. Battlephobe here. Today I want to talk about a test model that I painted up in preparation for my Golden Demon entry for Adepticon 2024. I've had a Warlord Titan sitting in my backlog for quite some time now that I got at a decent price from my local hobby shop, and it's a Adeptus Titanicus scale, so not quite the Forge World $4,000 Titan, but something smaller scale, more accustomed for basically a 40k newcomer like me. Not a lot of experience with Imperials. I do a lot of research for the color scheme, basically because I know nothing about Warlord Titans. I just think they look cool. So, but because the color scheme was a little bit intimidating for me, we're doing yellow with black flames, which I don't think I've ever done an entire kit yellow for anything, Warhammer or Gunpla, so I wanted to do a test model first. So I grabbed something I already had completed, a 1 in 144 scale mobile Kapool from Turner Gundam, which I haven't watched the entirety of, but I'll get to it eventually. So yeah, that was what I decided to do. Figured it'd be quick and easy and low stakes here if I mess anything up. So I started off here priming in white, and I made the mistake of thinning this, so this ended up taking 2 or 3 coats before it was completely opaque, but we eventually get it done. And all the main parts get primed in this color, with the exception of the parts that are going to be metallic. Those were later primed in black.
Types of music. That's what it was based on since the beginning, taking the best piece of a record, and that's what we're still doing.
So now that everything's primed, I'm moving on to my first color that I'm underpainting with, and that's going to be red. It's going to be my shade. I learned this technique from the old manuals that come with some of the older kits. One of the studio painters, this was their technique. When they were doing anything yellow, they would underpaint with red for the shade. So you would see a little bit of that red peeking through from under the yellow, and it kind of has a pleasing effect, or at the very least an effect that I found pleasing. And because I've never painted anything entirely in yellow, I've never underpainted with this color, so a first for me.
बढ़ता ही रहे और फूले फले।
चुप क्यों हो गए? और सुनाओ।
Better have my records, nigga.
And here I'm moving on to my first yellow. This is going to be the main color. And both of these colors are from Monument Hobbies. Also never used these before. This is a first for me. I was really pleased with their off-white, so I decided to pick up a couple more of their colors. And so far I've used their blue. But this is the first time I'm using both the red and the yellow. And if you watch what I'm doing here, I'm trying to avoid completely covering the red, so we have some of that shade still coming through. Kind of a color variance or a shadow, if you will. I also avoided completely covering these in red after the primer stage because I wanted the yellow to be as vibrant as possible and not affected by the red in any way. But what I didn't realize until later is this yellow has such great coverage that I could completely cover all of these parts in red and the yellow would be completely unaffected. So later in the video you'll see me painting some of the other parts entirely in red and just going back over, being just careful with my yellow later on and still getting the same effect. I did end up doing 2 coats for a few of the pieces, just where I wasn't satisfied with my previous coverage, and which is fine. You don't want to go, it's better to do too little and leave yourself room to come back over with another coat rather than to cover too much and lose all your previous tones and then just have a flat, one color. So it's okay to be cautious and do more later if you're unsatisfied. So here I'm adding a little bit of off-white to my yellow, my previous yellow, and we're going to do a bit of a highlight here over the parts that are already painted with just the regular yellow. And I did overdo it a bit in this highlighting stage. There's a little bit too much of the brighter yellow, so I do come back later in the video and bring it back down and have a little bit more of a precise highlight. Here you can see me bringing back that original yellow. Here I'm priming one of the parts that's going to be metallic on this kit. It's the inside of the torso. Priming it black because I'm going to use a true metal metallic over this. So trying to get that maximum gloss. Here I'm throwing a quick dull coat through the airbrush, just a layer of protection, because I at some point was gonna weather this probably with enamels or maybe oils. So once I was satisfied with the color on the majority of the parts, I just started putting down a protective layer before I move on to the next step. I did the arms on a different day. I just thought I'd throw that footage in there, just so they weren't missing. Then here, the metals that have been primed in black, we're going over with one of the metallics metal color from Vallejo. I forget which one exactly, probably exhaust or something. I did a quick and dirty little mask job so I could spray on the metallic for the claws. This doesn't get all of the claws, but it gets enough of it to cut down the hand painting that's required. And then here I am hand painting the parts that I missed with the airbrush.
Put anything on that fool on the nigga, it don't even matter what it is, man. We locked in. Okay, bet. Look, just check this shit out then.
Here we're doing a few more of the details in metallics. Here I'm using a little bit of a Citadel contrast paint to tint these details that should be a different color, just to make a nice little contrast. And here we've locked in our main colors basically for everything. Everything's base coated at this point, so I'm doing a little assembly just to get a better idea of how we'll move forward to the next steps. And you'll see this is when I noticed I missed a little bit on the knee, but we could fix that later. So I've moved on to painting some of the details red, and again I'm using, actually this isn't Citadel, this is speed paint red. I forget which one. It's in the basic set. And here's another speed paint. I believe this one is Peach Flesh. My idea here was anything that's not a thruster or having a laser shot through it, we would do like a darker yellow orange, something still like in the yellow family, and everything else would be red. So thrusters and laser beams or whatever would be red. And so here's the part that I was dreading the most, hand painting the flames. Two other artists that kind of inspired slash demystified. Sam Lin's, I took a course with him at Adepticon in like 2019, I want to say. And that kind of demystified freehanding for me. First time I ever did it was in that class. And haven't done it too often since then. So I watched a couple videos on it. And one of them that was really helpful was Richard Gray's. I forget exactly what he's painting. Something, I want to say from 30K. But it's basically this color scheme, yellow with black painted flames. And I don't do these exactly like he does, but the information he provided was still helpful. Just watching him do it was kind of like a guide for how I would do it going forward. But I think I probably will do them a little bit closer to the reference art I have. These are like very skinny at the top, and there's a bunch of like individual flames. And I probably would do them chunkier on the Warlord Titan, just because I think it looks a little more cohesive. But I'm still pretty satisfied with how they came out. Little last minute posing just to make sure I like it. I'm pretty satisfied at this point. We're just doing some last minute detail stuff where I felt like the black maybe was too thin, or maybe some of the red had spilled over onto the yellow, and then kind of black lining those edges that have flames on them, just to clean it up a little bit. But overall, pretty satisfied so far. I think if I do any further weathering on this, it'll be in a part 2.